How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Leaguie Games, and finally today is the big day, the release of Rugby League 26. Today I have waited no less than 8 years for. I cannot wait to get into it. And the first thing I thought I would do in the game today is to look through the ratings of all the players. Now, I have heard there's some really weird ones. I'm looking at you, Tom Eisenhuth. But today I thought we'd go through the best and the worst of them in terms of how Big Ant rates these players. So without further ado, let's get into it. Man, it feels so surreal to finally be in this home menu after such a long period of time. But finally, we've got access, so let's have a little look at the players. We'll go through the clubs alphabetically, starting with the Broncos. And Payne Haas at 93, I really have no complaints about that at all. We knew that he would be 93. The NRL did announce it, and I just think there's things in the game that Payne Haas can do that literally no other player is capable of. So 93, very deserved. Patch Carrigan as well, consistent player, deserves his 90. I'm not sure about Reece Walsh. I was a little vocal about this. On his day, absolutely, he's a 90 overall, but does he have the consistency to be at that level compared to other 90 rated players? I'm not quite sure. Maybe same with Ezra Mann being a bit high at 87 when you say that that's the same as Adam Reynolds. Again, on his day, for sure, Mann is at that level, but I don't know about it in terms of his overall rating. Someone Cobo at 83 is an interesting one, especially when you compare it to Gemmet Shibasaki at 83. It means that this game is very up to date. We can actually see Shibasaki in the Maroons jumper, so it is very up to date. They've included form this year. I thought we might see sort of 2024 base ratings, but that's good to see. I think Willison's maybe a little harsh done to only be an 80 when you look at other guys like, say, Kobe Hetherington up at an 82, Jordan Ricky at an 84. I think Willison does produce at a pretty good level at the moment for the Broncos. Same with Corey Pakes, actually, there at 78. That seems harsh. He's had a pretty good season so far for Brisbane. He's really found his spot. But yeah, overall, nothing too egregious. Oh, wait, what? Benjamin Takura, fullback. This bloke is the biggest fullback of all time. I mean, that's just clearing an error in putting his position, but surely you proofread things like that before releasing a game. I wonder how that's affected his rating as well, because maybe his stats only reflect a 72 overall fullback, whereas if he was a prop, he'd be rated a bit higher. Anyway, on to the Raiders. And yeah, they are just a really consistent team, aren't they? But I was very happy to see Joe Tapine released as one of the 90s. I was already might not be rated that high, given he's out of the limelight a little bit down there in Canberra, but he's done well to do that. Same with Hudson Young in 89, although he obviously has that representative origin recognition. Fogarty 86, I think is well deserved. I'm glad he's getting recognition as well as Corey Horsburgh, who, I mean, yes, he's back into the side this year, and he's a very high output player, but he did struggle for first grade last season, so to see him way back at 86 already, yeah, I can live with it. No, it's not too bad. Seb Chris getting some love as well at 85. Ricky still would love that. He loves Seb Chris. Matt Timoko, I think at 84, that's a bit harsh. Trying to be lower rated than Chris, and look at a guy like Katoni Staggs, who's 86. I think Timoko is in that conversation with those guys. I'd have him got at least an 85 in my opinion. Same with some of these guys actually. Ethan Strange, Xavier Savage, Kaya Weeks, Hosking, Starling. Those guys should all be, I think, at least maybe 1 or 2 ratings higher. Savage had a great season last year. For him to be only 82 overall, I think that's very unders. And what we've seen Weeks do so far this season at fullback, he's amazing. So a couple there I disagree with, but again, nothing too completely egregious. Moving on to the doggies, and we've got Stephen Crichton leading the pack at 91, deserved, best center in the game, absolutely no questions about it. Viliami Kickout in at 88. Yeah, on his day, certainly a very damaging player, and he's a lot more consistent than some of the other guys that we've seen that are high rated in this game, so I don't have a huge issue with that. Kira is at 87. The Doggies fans will love that. Their winger getting some love. But geez, Matt Burton only at 86. They've got him in the Kangaroos jersey there as well. I think that's unders for sure. If you have Ezra Mann at 87, I don't see how you can justify having Matt Burton only at 86. Satili Tupanua in at 85 as well. I mean, look, he's a former Rooster. I absolutely love Satili, but 85 overall, when you look at someone like Reed Marnie at 84, Tracy at 84, I think Satili's maybe even not as good as those guys are. Oh my God, are you joking? What, for the second time, Harry Hayes fullback? What is it with props being fullbacks in this game? Galvin rated at 82, that's probably about right. If anything, I'd say maybe even a little low. We were hearing some outrageous things about him being 90 overall heading into this game, but 82, I think that's not going to upset too many people. I don't mind that. Bailey Hayward underrated, only at 79. Sexton at 78 as well. That's robbery. Jeez, justice for Toby, man. But what's he got to do? Is halfback of the team that's in first place. He's been dropped from first grade in real life and only rated 78 in this game. I'm not sure you can say that the Bulldogs are doing as well as they are with a Haas pairing that's a 78 rated halfback and an 86 rated 5'8". But yeah, a few more that I think I disagree with there, to be honest. But we'll move on to the Sharks. Teague Wilton? Teague Wilton at 89. What? That doesn't make sense. The NRL.com released the ratings of the players that are 89 overall, and Teague Wilton was not one of them. That is random as hell. Nico at 84. Nico Hines at 84.
There's got to be an investigation into this. Someone's got to be accountable for this.
I know the media really get on Nico's back, and he's not in the same form as he was in his Dally M season, but 84, he's a Dally M winner. You cannot tell me that Nico Hines is 84 overall and Teague Wilton is 89. All love to Wilton, but he's not that guy. Teague Wilton, 2 ratings above Anafanua Blake, 3 ratings above Britton Nikora. That's a weird one. I think Jesse Ramian as well, only at 82. That's very unlucky. I think he's a really good center. For him to be 4 ratings lower than KL Iro. Same with Braden Trindle, only 82 rated 5'8". I'm sorry, but if current Ezra Mam is an 87, there's no way Braden Trindle is an 82. A couple there that I think are really quite confusing. On to the Dolphins. Farnworth at 90. I'm glad that he's getting some good recognition, but 90 might be just a tad higher than I would have thought. Amiso in at 89. Good job. Tom Gilbert, again, really struggled for game time. I'm not really sure if 88 is quite justified, but he's a very, very good player. Katoa in at 87. My God, he's going to be good in career mode. Jesus Christ. Good to see Max Plath getting some love. He's one of my favorite players in the NRL, but I've got to say, a guy like Jack Bostock, who won Dally M Rookie of the Year last season, only being an 81 does surprise me. He's a great winger, and I mean, is he 5 overall lower than Jermaine Osaka? I would definitely argue he isn't. Same with Cody Nikorima at 81. I mean, some of these halves that are maybe not the star man in their team, you look at guys like Sexton, Trindle, and Nikorima, they are rated really, really harshly in my opinion. Yeah, I do think some of these Dolphins are hard done by. I mean, you look at someone like Ray Stone in at 78, he's a regular first grader. Mark Nichols even. Josh Kerr rated only 74. He was in Origin camp, wasn't he? Yeah, a couple of head scratches there. For the Titans, Tino in at 89, very, very well deserved. Bo Fermor, 86 as well, getting some love. David Fafita, I mean, he's not even really been in the first grade side this year, but on his day, he's definitely that good, and video games are kind of about that. I think in terms of his statistics, it would have been hard to have him anywhere lower than 86. Cut Pereira getting some love at 85 as well. I mean, he's a very, very prolific try scorer, but the way that we've seen other wingers rated in this game, go back to a guy like Jack Bostock, I don't really know if there's 4 overall difference between Bostock and Cut Pereira. AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell, both at 82s, is really interesting to me because you look at someone like David Fafita, rated 86, although he doesn't have the consistency, he's got the natural ability. You would think the same logic might apply to a guy like Jaden Campbell, but it doesn't seem that they've been consistent in that way. Interesting that he's listed as a 5'8 as well, when really the season is only played halfback and fullback. Looking down here, this might be some Roosters bias, but Sam Verrills only at 78. I mean, he's a premiership winning hooker, and sure, he's not, transitioned into an absolute superstar, but he does a very solid job for the Titans. To not even have him at 80 overall, I think is very harsh. Aside from that, though, I mean, they're a side who aren't performing very well, so it's hard to really make the case that many of the players should be much higher rated. Tom Weaver only 73 does seem very low, but, they are languishing at the bottom of the ladder right now. On to the Manly Seagulls. And this is interesting to me. They've gone with 88 overall for Tom Trbojevic. I was really, really interested to see how they were going to go with him because, again, he's another one of these guys who has shown incredible form over the course of his career. But it has been some years, in my opinion, since we've seen the best of him. So was it going to be a case where they might knock him down a few ratings because his best might be behind him? It does not seem to be that way. Same with DCE, really, rated up at 89. I mean, this season has not been outstanding for him, but I don't know, I might have gone with 86, 87 for him, sort of on par with an Adam Reynolds at the moment. Saab at 87 as well is interesting. He's a very, very good player, but again, I'd compare to a guy like Bostock, 6 overall higher than Jack Bostock. Really? Jazz Tavanga in at 85 as well. That surprises me to see. I mean, when you've got someone like Lachlan Croker rated only 78, to have Jazz Tavanga at 85, that does seem like overs. Luke Brooks at 79 is harsh as hell. He's definitely a better player than that. Both him and Lachlan Croker, I mean, they've shown great form as starting spine players for Manly. I think both of them have been really dudded here. And even Siasiwa Taukeiaho at only 74. I mean, he's a 2-time premiership winning prop. Regularly starts in first grade for Manly. I think 74 is well unders. But look, some good ones as well. Lehigh Opawati in at 84. Kohler in 84. I think it's nice to see those young outside backs get some recognition. But yeah, a few head scratches there as well. On to the Melbourne Storm. Harry Grant and Jerome Hughes in at 91. Munster in at 90. All 3 of those players well deserved. And if anything, I'd have had Grant and Hughes higher than 91. Eli Katoa gets a good rating as the second best back rower in the game. I believe, behind Angus Crichton. And Ryan Pappenhau's an 89 rated at fullback. It's nice to see him rated that highly, given that he's still kind of working his way back to his best from injury. Stefano in at 87, that does seem pretty high to me. I mean, I know he plays Origin, but Stefano in at 87, Palkiaho in at 74, is there really that much of a difference between those two players? I think you can look at a guy like Nick Meaney as well, who deserves to be a bit higher than that. I mean, he's been a very solid outside back for Melbourne now for a very, very long while. 82 does seem low. As well as Jack Howarth. I mean, I know he's new to first grade kind of, but he was a nearly try scorer in the grand final last year. To only be 81, I think, is low. Tyron Wishart though, wow, only 78? This guy was incredible at times last season. That's a lot lower than he should be, in my opinion. When you're talking about utilities, you got Tyron Wishart at 78 and Jazz Tavanga at 85. Okay, bro. On to the Wars. What have we got here? Oh my god, straight off the bat, Leka Halasima fullback. Fullback must just be the default position, and they just forgot to change some of the players around. Looking at the two front rowers here for the Wars, Barnett and Fisher Harris, compared those guys as 87s to a guy like Stefano Mutukamanu in 87, I think that's pretty harsh. Fisher Harris is now a 4-time consecutive premiership winner. I mean, what more does he have to do to get high up in the ratings? Dallin in 86, I mean, try-scoring winger again. It does seem to be a stat that they've really prioritized for wingers, maybe away from stuff like the physicality elements of the game. Aaron Clark in 85, I do like that. I think that that's a good deserved rating. Metcalf only 84 though. I mean, there's a lot of players whose ratings are impacted by 2025 form. That seems to be an exception to that rule. As well as Rocco Berry only in at 79. I mean, I know he's been injured a little bit, but he's a very, very good player when he's in that side. Tomate Martin only in at 77. Bunty in at 74, bro. Don't tell Hectic Fred, Jesus. Yeah, again, like, while there's some that I think are very well rated, say Kurt Capewell in an 84, I think that's deserved. Chance in an 84, as well as Wade Egan in an 87, who's probably slightly higher than I might have had him, but it's good to see a guy like that get recognition for how good he is. But just the consistency between certain players, I don't think they really compare well when you go across teams. On to the Newcastle Knights, and oh, what the hell? Jackson Hastings 89. You're telling me that Nico Hines is an 84 overall halfback and Jackson Hastings is an 89 overall one? That's got to be a mistake. Look, I love Jackson Hastings. I've listened to a billion interviews with Jackson Hastings. I think he's an absolutely fascinating person, but he's not 89 overall at the moment. It baffles me how they've got some of them so right and then some of them so wrong. Like Dylan Lucas in at 87, for example. It takes someone pretty tuned in to the NRL and listening to NRL analysis and podcasts to know that Dylan Lucas is a really, really good player. But how is he 2 ratings lower than Jackson Hastings? Dan Gagai only an 82, I think is probably slightly unders as well. I mean, I know he's certainly towards the back end of his career, but he's still producing at a good level. Same with Dom Young, who, if you watch my content, you'd know definitely deserves 99 overall. Dreadlocks flowing, and the floodlights glistening off his pecs, and looking through the rest of these, I mean, James Schiller, regular first grade winger from them, only 78. I think Matt Croker as well, to be only 76 is a bit unders. But yeah, unfortunately, 89 Jackson Hastings is the one that stands out as really baffling. For the Cowboys, they've got Reece Robson in at 89 and Tom Dearden only at 88. I think Tom Dearden is definitely the best player that they have at the club, so probably a little bit unders there for the 5'8". Drinkwater, 88 fullback, maybe a little high, but on his day, he's a very, very good player. So you look at a guy like Jackson Purdue, right, who really only has 2025 form to go off, and form that's definitely good, but not the most outstanding. I'm not really sure how you justify having him at 81 and a guy like, say, Jaden Campbell in at only 82. Clifford in at 77, that seems like unders for sure. They've got a very good win rate when he's in the side. As well as, oh my god, Bateman 75, Hess 75, that's low. Even Carl Lawton, he's a very solid player to only be 75 overall. Yeah, there's a few here that are a little bit weird. I mean, really, I think you look at McLean, Kai O'Donnell, as I said, Bateman and Hess, Lawton, these are their forwards. Like, they definitely shouldn't be that low. Geez, well, see, here's another example. Kitione Kartonga, 84 overall. He burst onto the scene this season. He didn't really have too much of a career before that. Oh my god, he's a fullback. Why is he a fullback? But no, sorry, as I was going to say, a player whose rating is clearly based on their 2025 form, but then there's been so many other guys where that simply isn't the case. Anyway, I'll get back on track. Moses at 90. Lomax as well, I mean, is a good representative player now, makes sense. I think Jack Williams may be slightly higher than I might have had him, and Addo Carr may be slightly lower, same as Dylan Brown, but I'm sort of nitpicking a little bit there. It's not terrible. That's Iongi get a little bit of love at fullback, 83 overall. He's had a good season so far. Luca Moretti, I swear he's not a fullback either. He's a forward. Jeez, this is not great. Will Pansini, only 82 as well. He could easily be an 84, and I wouldn't blink much at that. Looking through the rest of the team here, I mean, I think definitely in time, a guy like Josh Papali would be a lot higher than 74. I think he probably deserves higher than 74, given how he's come into first grade in recent weeks and done very, very well for them. And finishing off the team, oh my God, Sean Lane? What the hell happened to Sean Lane? 64 overall. Sean Lane is nowhere near that bad a player. Again, that's gotta be a mistake. In what world are you telling me that Luca Moretti is 19 overall better than Sean Lane? And that's just within one team. The comparison there is literally side by side. No, that's a weird one. Panthers now. Period at 93, no surprise there. Yo at 92, that's interesting. I'm sure he was rated as a 91 when the NRL released their player ratings on social media. So they seem to have upped that, which is good. To'o only 90. Again, I would have had him higher for sure. When you look at a guy like, say, Reece Walsh being rated 90, Hobie Farnworth being rated 90, I think Brian To'o is definitely the best winger of this generation, possibly the best winger ever by the time his career is over. I think he's only 26 years old. So for him to be only 90 overall, I think that's unders. Liam Henry in at 86, above Moses Leota. Definitely don't agree with that one. Same as Lindsay Smith. I mean, as the jersey shows, Lindsay Smith is a Kangaroos representative. He's not 3 overall lower than Liam Henry. Mitch Kenny as well, to only be 82, I think is a bit unlucky. I mean, he's not a player that gets too much recognition, but defensively, very, very good, and he's won several premierships. Deserves higher than 82 in my opinion. Aside from that though, there doesn't seem to be anything too egregious. Oh, except for Luron Patea, listed as a fullback. He's definitely not one of those. Big Ant, I'll be real, you gotta fix that up. That's pretty bad. Now for South Sydney. Charlotte at 90, yep, I rate it. He's had a pretty good year so far. He's got a bit more of that consistency back under Wayne Bennett. Cameron Murray at 89, yeah, I wouldn't have him very far behind the Troll at all. Jacob Host in at 85, I think that's certainly gonna raise some eyebrows. Don't agree with that one. I know a lot of South Sydney fans who are really off Jacob Host. For him to be 1 overall lower than Keon Kaloamatangi, no chance. Campbell Graham probably rated a bit low as well. I think he's a very, very good outside back on his day. If he was 85 or 86, I wouldn't really raise much of an eyebrow. Hubner as well. I mean, I know he's been starting lock for them this year, but not a guy that most NRL fans probably knew coming into this season to be all the way up at 84 when you look at a guy like Cody Walker, who's 84 as well. Oh my God. What happened to Cody Walker? They made him white. That is not Cody Walker. You cannot tell me for one moment that that thing is Cody Walker. This dude looks more like Liam Henry than he looks like Cody Walker. God damn. Alex Johnson, 83. I mean, that's interesting because as I said earlier in this video, it seemed like they were really going with high try-scoring wingers as high-rated wingers, like Alofiana Pereira in 85. With AKP's 85 to only have AJ in at 83, I think that's harsh. Jairo, 82. Brandon, oh my God. That is not Brandon Smith. That dude looks like a thumb. Bro, the cheese is chopped. I mean, surely they just couldn't get Brandon Smith and Cody Walker in for head scans, but even then, surely a little bit of time for two very high-profile players in our game could have made them look a little bit more realistic. Jack Gray rated 81. I really like that. I think that's deserved, but Jack White only 81, probably a little bit too low, to be honest. He's still a good, solid player. Munro 78, Simba Satola. I think Tass 77 there at center is probably unders. If he was up around the 80 mark again, that'd be fine by me. Same with Kepian at 74 and Jaden Sullivan. I mean, these are guys that regularly come into first grade and do a job. They're not star players, but to only be rated 74, I think that's harsh. Liam LeBlanc, exact same situation. And he's a fullback as well, apparently. For the Dragons, what have we got? Oh yeah, this is the one I'd heard about. Tom Eisenhuth, 90 overall. This is a mistake. There is absolutely no rationalization in my head that this is not a mistake. It has to be. I mean, if Tom Eisenhuth was rated 70, that would make sense. I'm pretty sure this dude's retired. I mean, I know overall ratings are kind of opinion-based, but no, this is a hate crime. Anyway, Gutherson in at 87. I like it. Flanagan at 86. Jesus, don't tell Jean-Claude Bittard.
He can't fucking run. He can't kick, he can't pass, he can't do anything.
Holmes at only 86, I'd give him maybe slightly higher than that. I mean, he's had a good season so far for sure and did well in State of Origin. But again, sorry to skip forward, but you compare that to someone like Moses Sully, who's the opposing center of the Dragons, only 81. Why is it that a guy like David Fafita at the Titans is rated 86 because of what he can do on his day, but a guy like Moses Sully is only rated 81? I think Jacob Little's hard done by as well at 80. They don't seem to like hookers in this game. Little 80 and Cook 85, there's definitely not that big a gap between those two players at the moment. There's a pretty big school of thought that Little's actually the best hooker at the Dragons. So that's a bit of an odd one. Aside from that though, this is just one of the most sort of deep squads in the game. Lots of high 70s rated dudes in their depth. Viliami Fafita fullback, of course. I reckon look at some of these 75 rated dudes, Fafita, Gula, Clemmer, Laurie, Molo, that seems a little lazy to me. I don't think you can tell me that like basically the entire middle forward rotation for the Dragons is just all happen to be 75 overall. As well as Hame Sele only in at 72, that does seem low. Their forwards could get absolutely rolled in this game. Okay, now we're talking. The big dogs, the one that really matters. Okay, I'm going to take this one by one. James Tedesco should be a bit higher than 91. When you look at some of the guys, especially who are 90 overall, just below him. For sure, in my opinion. He is our best player. But nice to see him and Angus Crichton rated highly. Victor Radley, 86. I think that's maybe a little generous. Wouldn't have really blinked if he was 85 or 84. But I do love Victor Radley. I'm very happy to see him with a high rating. Connor Watson in at 86, my favorite player in the NRL. Again, I think he's a guy maybe who could be higher than Radley even, given that he does play State of Origin these days. Nafai White and Siwa Wong are both 86, so that is 2025 form. When you compare that to Lindsay Collins and Spencer Leniu, only, oh my god, that is not Spencer Leniu. That dude looks more like Julian Ali than he looks like Spencer Leniu. No, I do think that's weird to have White and Wong higher rated than Collins and Leniu. Namangani Tawase gets 85, Walker only gets 84. That's definitely unders. You look at his form last season, you cannot tell me that Sam Walker is 2 overall lower than Siwa Wong. I know he's been injured with an ACL injury, but that doesn't necessarily mean that his overall rating should just plummet. Rob Toya in 83 again, another one that's not face scanned, as a face is very similar to Spencer Leniu, really. Tupo is scanned, although they've never really in rugby league games been able to get his proportions right. His head is not that big. Billy Smith 81, I like. Feketi 79, yeah, no, he's building his career very, very nicely so far. Some of these head scans are great. I mean, you look at Sandon Smith, that really does look like Sandon Smith. Oh, and then you got Blake Steep. What did they do to Blake Steep? I mean, I know he's got the iconic chin, but that makes him look like he has a soul patch. It makes him look like a Spanish barista who serves me a latte instead of the espresso that I ordered and then begins to start flirting with my girlfriend. Oh my god, they've killed Nat Butcher. 75? That angers me deeply. Nat Butcher is one of our most consistent players. There is not a chance in hell that Nat Butcher should be 11 ratings lower than Victor Radley, let alone 3 ratings lower than likes of Blake Steep and Egan Butcher, who are still proving themselves in first grade. That's an absolute violation there of Nat. I mean, to have him 75 when you've got Xavier Va'a also 75, a guy who has played 1 game of first grade. Wow, that's shocking. Aside from examples like Eisenhuth and Sean Lee, which I kind of expect were mistakes, I think Nat Butcher might be the worst one I've seen so far. And for our final team, the West Tigers, Api Coruscant at 90 is one of these guys where when you see James Tedesco only at 91, find that a little bit hard to rationalize. Definitely in his prime, Coruscant was 90 rated player, but is he still nowadays? I'm not so sure. Luai in at 89, could be a little bit higher than I might have had him, but anyway, that's not the end of the world. Terrell May, though, is one that I think is well deserved. Wait, they've made him the same height as Jerome Luai. Bale at 86, that's good. See, that's an example of one where I think that there's some in-depth rugby league knowledge to appreciate that a guy like Fanua Bale really is one of the better players at the Tigers. But then other instances where I think it just, like Nat Butcher. Fanua Bale is not 11 ratings higher than Nat Butcher. Roosters bias dripping right now. Kareem Buller, 84, don't mind that. Samuel Fino as well, 84. He's a guy who will be very fun to use in career mode. Suni Taruva, 84 as well. I might have him a little bit higher. I mean, he's one of the better wingers, I think, in the Premiership, and he's a multiple Premiership winner. He does great work out of his own end, relatively safe, and knows how to find the line. I think that he should be maybe slightly higher, 85s or 86s. Alex 12, the GOAT, 83. Stafford Toa, 83, interesting one. I mean, I think not the most consistent player, so if Stafford Toa is an 83, is Moses Sully really still only an 81? Dewey 81, Seyfarth 81. Yeah, look, none here that are too bad. I think a lot of these ratings have sort of suffered just because of the fact that the Tigers are a team that aren't doing very well. So you kind of need to have the overall team rating be a bit low, and some of these guys are low to bring down that average, especially when you've got Coruscant and Luai rated as high as they are. So anyway, there we have it. These are the highest rated players in Rugby League 26. Let me know in the comments below which ratings you think they got right and which ones you would change. But anyway, I will leave it there. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you later.